Just one sec. A very good afternoon to all of you. I'm Indraneel Chaudhary, and on behalf of M Junction Services Limited, I welcome you all to this discussion today, which is titled Unlocking Value in Procurement Compliance and Critical Planning. So today, our focus is primarily on how we may manage our tail end buys better by driving up efficiencies and effectiveness. Usually, procurement organizations have been focused on managing their strategic spend, and which means about 80% of the total spend. The tail end of a procurement department spend refers to the 20% of non-core transactions that are left unmanaged, usually due to high volume of suppliers and limited in-house resources. Hence, tail end spend management is finally becoming a procurement priority in a certain way. Well, the fact is that many of these transactions are either too small or made too infrequently to be handled by a single internal strategic sourcing staff. However, these small purchases eventually can add up and in the long run impact a company's bottom line. So companies today are discovering that they really cannot use the same procurement methodologies for tail end spend as they have for their strategic spend. For one thing, tail end spend is far more complex and far more complex than strategic spend. There are many more suppliers. It's very fragmented, and there are a lot of more individuals who are buying. So large number of suppliers, smaller spend volumes, and a perceived lack of economies of scale mean knowing exactly where to focus attention on the tail. Sometimes, sometimes they become a bit daunting, to be very honest. So today we aim to uncover pieces of knowledge on how we can create sustained values through management of low value buys. And I'm happy to introduce three distinguished speakers, three distinguished panelists, I would say, who have been very kind to join our webinar today to share their insights with us. So let me quickly introduce all of them to you before triggering this much awaited discussion. So we have with us today Mr. Partha Bhattacharya. So Mr. Partha Bhattacharya, currently working as Vice President Materials with CS Limited, has 39 years of experience in supply chain management. He's a mechanical engineering graduate from Jadavpur University and has done MBA from the same university with specialization in operations research. He's a faculty member of SCM and Logistics at IISWBM Calcutta and guest speaker at the CII, Indian Chamber of Commerce, and other professional bodies. He has also been instrumental in driving significant improvements across materials division of CAST through IT applications and innovative process developments. A warm welcome to you, Partha Bhattacharya.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. We also have with us Mr. Alok K. Gupta. He's a respected speaker and he currently works with Indian Oil Corporation, Haldia Oil Refinery as DBM Materials. A mechanical engineer, he also holds a postgraduate diploma in human resources and has a rich experience of over 25 years in the procurement function of IOCL Haldia Oil Refinery, a department which he now heads. He's one of those key IOCL executives who has been a part of the building team of this large refinery from grassroots levels and is responsible also for smooth functioning of his organization. So, Mr. Gupta, please accept a sincere thanks for taking your time out to join our webinar today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So we also have
to be here with you.
Thank you very much. So we also have with us Mr. Rajesh Ray. Mr. Rajesh Ray, currently working as associate partner with IBM India, has 25 years of consulting and industry background in supply chain domain. In the last 3 years, he worked with multiple clients in their digital transformation initiatives using AI, blockchain, predictive analytics, and machine learning as technology enablers, and developing right use case and business case for next generation technology. Rajesh is also the author of 3 books from McGraw-Hill publication. He's written 60+ articles in different international journals. He's an honorary member of the CII Logistics Council, SCOR Society, and DDMR Institute. He's a frequent speaker in different supply chain forums in India and abroad. We're very happy to have you, Mr. Rajesh Ray, as our speaker in this webinar. Welcome. Okay. So what we do is, while we have set the context and while we are discussing today how to effectively manage low-value buys and how to ensure that the compliances are achieved. So Mr. Partha Bhattacharya, I think I would take this opportunity to ask you the first question today, which is when we understand the importance of managing low-value buys efficiently, when we also understand that this entails handling high volume of transactions, where each transaction may be of very small value and may not have as strategic importance as other so-called strategic buys have. How do we would like to hear from you, if you would share your thoughts on the relevance of managing these low-value buys in the environment that we see today, especially the critical times that the global pandemic has thrust upon us. How do you handle the compliance? How do you handle the low-value buys, and how do you handle the expectation, of success through these buys, especially in these times? Over to you, Mr. Bhattacharya.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chaudhary, and good afternoon to all the viewers. Very nice question you asked me under current scenario, under current business scenario. Like we are just coming out of the pandemic and adopting the new normal business in all spheres of the country. Now, in order to answer your question, I must tell you that if you talk about the critical times, we must first try to envisage that what should be the extent of risk we may face in the critical times, and only then we shall be able to relate its importance with the low-value procurement. And the volatility of supply chain shall fully depend upon the type of risk you are handling in the critical business scenario. Now, if you integrate knowledge with probable impact, then you will get a segment called known. Means the knowledge is known and the probable impact also is known, and the risk is very less. For example, like quality problems, then inaccurate forecasts, customer change requests, and so on. And you can plan and organize your supply chain, including the talent spend, in such a way then you can very easily mitigate the risks of this low risk segment. But there is another segment while integrating your knowledge with probable impact, that is more alarming, and that is called known unknown. Means the knowledge is known that critical times are coming very soon, but probable impact is totally unknown. It can be very vast and devastating, and the risk level is very high. And for example, like floods, and none other than the pandemic of the recent times. We knew that the pandemic is coming, but such a vast devastation it will make in the industry and the business, we never imagined that. So that is coming on a known unknown. So we must prepare ourselves to mitigate the high risks areas of this known unknown segment in such a way that whenever it occurs, we can sail through very easily. Now, sometimes these risks or critical times can come with a warning, and you can have some chance of preparedness. sometimes it can come all on a sudden, and it is a total jeopardy situation. And if you analyze, now I'm coming to the tail end vendors, to be more precise, that if you analyze the disturbances you find in the critical times, you will find that most of the disturbances occur because of the tail end vendors. But it's not their fault. They are very small vendors. It's not their fault that they are causing disturbance, but it's their inability to handle the situation because they are very small, tiny vendors. And not only that, the other way around, like you are not a priority buyer for your small vendors because the amount of business you give to them is very low, and therefore you are not a strategic match for them. So now, if you ask me to share my thoughts about its relevance to the critical business environment, I must say that we must ask ourselves a question that how important are we to the small vendors? And this is the question all organizations must ask themselves, that how important are they to their small vendor base, having 80% of the total mass. And this is more important in this changing business scenario in the critical times when the suppliers' priorities are also changing, that priority to with whom we shall deal in the critical times. There may be many items of low value, low volume, but maybe highly critical, highly essential for the organization. And any organization, when they do the evaluate the risks of the procurement, evaluate the procurement plan, fix up their procurement programs, they generally focus, as rightly said in the inaugural address, that they generally focus on the high spend strategic items supplied by the technology partners. But these low volume, critical and low value items, which are absolutely critical, may be the riskiest. Because the vendors from whom you are sourcing, they may not give due importance to you because the business volume is low. There can be many items, like many items can be vital, and if you do a VD analysis, many items may be scarce and hard to procure. Many items can even come from faraway places outside the state. And while 20% of your vendor base contribute to the strategic spend, which is the large in number in terms of procurement value, the 80% is a larger mass. You can call it necessary many. Now, coming to your point, like in critical times, it is very difficult to handle individually. I repeat, the word individual is critical many vendors. That is 80% of the total mass of vendors. So the best way to manage the tail end spend in the difficult times, in the critical times, is to go for strategic partnership, even for the tail end buying. And how this can be done? You just straight away consolidate the Group C suppliers under one strategic partner, or just under a few aggregators, and that solves your problem. So to meet the challenges of critical times, in order to handle the high value spend, you have to change your procurement strategy from the transactional buying to the strategic buying. And by this change of strategy, this will not only consolidate your buying efforts, but also will give you a sort of commitment from the aggregators to maintain the service level as per your service level agreement, even in the critical times. So that's my thought. I thought of sharing this only because that's the most important part in handling low value spend in critical times. Like you go for straight away strategic partnership, and you are a bit safer in critical times in that respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bhattacharya, for giving us some clarity on this. So, Mr. Gupta, if we talk about volumes being very high, and when we talk about, especially Mr. Bhattacharya has just now spoken about quality. You know, he at one point of time he mentioned about the quality issues are something which needs to be handled. He also mentioned a lot of other things which we'll talk about later on. But especially on this aspect of volumes being very high, there is always a problem. There's always a concern that how are the quality getting handled, especially with regard to due diligence of suppliers in the first place. So in that sense, what do you think are the expectations of suppliers and purchasers when it comes to procuring typical tail-end items of any large enterprise? I mean, you can relate to your organization or for any large organization. What do you think are the key expectations that the suppliers and the purchasers would have when they get into a transaction for low-value buys? Over to you, Mr. Gupta.
Thank you, Mr. Indranil. Really, in the current context of buying tail-end items, very pertinent question. And as we all know that in reality, at supplier, maybe or purchaser and seller, both have to marry each other to make value for the society. And in fact, they have to work as a stakeholder, as a partner, and not they have to work as a partner for meeting the mutual beneficial objectives. So in the contest, as you have asked for values that they suppliers or buyers need to look forward, I can a few most important ones. Like for purchasers, I can say their main interest will be that how fast they convert their requirements, because they keep on getting requirements from end users. How fast they convert their requirements from in our terms we call it as a purchase requisition, from purchase requisition to the purchase order. How fast I'll be able to do that, or in other words, how minimum will be my internal lead time of procurement that will be beneficial to me. In that aspect, suppliers also will be putting support, because whenever there are some queries to them for any clarifications, they need to promptly respond. So they have to work for mutual benefits. Then second point I can list down, this timely supply of the deliverables. Suppose any service or any materials which is required to be delivered by a supplier, and if he defaults, this will be a cause of concern for the purchaser. So second most important aspect I can say, that if buyer is focused on timely delivery of the materials and he gets full support from the supplier, it will be adding. Then most importantly, this quality, even Mr. Bhattacharya also referred, quality of most importance supply, even for tail-end buys, because if something I'm getting and if it is failing in the probably alter my process, it will delay my rest. Now coming to the supplier point of view, what he will need for, he will need timely support of any clarifications, most importantly the payment what he is required to get. So suppose I have committed that I will make the payment within 30 days of receipt of materials, I should ensure that I am giving the payment in time. Then in fact, he also will be always looking for regular orders or say yearly orders. Got an arrangement for say yearly orders, maybe based on staggered delivery requirement. At least he's assured. Once he's assured of the business, definitely he will be able to deliver items in time, and there will be no concern of the purchaser. And obviously they'll be adding value for each other. Then one more point I can add, that any good supplier will look for feedback for improvements by, in case we are wanting for a mutual beneficial relationship, we need to give the feedback. As a buyer, I need to give feedback to the supplier. As a supplier, supplier needs to give the feedback how they can work for mutual benefits, and in future they can do even further improvements in the business. Because if we are working or looking after each other's mutual benefits, probably will huge success in such tail-end buys. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta. I think what you said largely relates to what all of us see and what all of us should know. Thank you for responding to us. So, Mr. Rajesh Ray, I think we have a question. We need some inputs, some insights from you. When we say that in the context of today, in the today's context, uh, we are keen to learn from you how important it is to manage low value buys efficiently. So that's the overarching theme. Why do you think it is so important, especially to manage the low value buys? And what, in your opinion, are the generic levers which need to be activated by any large enterprise to improve this segment of sourcing? So in a nutshell, why it is important, this low value spend, low value management, low value spend management, why is it very important? And what are the levers which any large enterprise would have to activate or would need to activate so that they can have a quantum improvement in this segment of tail end sourcing? Over to you, Mr. Ray.
Thanks. I think all of you can hear me correctly. Okay.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. I think the first lever, what I think is a conventional lever, which used to be reduction of procurement administrative costs, because as we know that the scale and buys obviously needs lots of items, and typically not much in terms of value, but in terms of number, it is quite high. And obviously for large organizations, there is a huge procurement admin cost, and that is one of the reasons for which increasingly you see that large organizations are looking at outsourcing this part so that it reduces the procurement administrative cost, time, and effort. And that was the conventional lever, and that's important till today. The second one, in the post-COVID, what also become very important is supply reliability. Because what we had seen that if for these low value buys, if this is not contributing to large pocket share for the supplier, typically sometimes suppliers are not responding, they are not committing on the delivery time. So that's how supply reliability has become very important. And that's how I know that many large companies had started like know your supplier program. Like, if you go to banks or financial institutions today, they talk about know your customer. So same way they have started a program like know your supplier. Here the idea is to understand that whether the supplier is really a manufacturer or he's a trader. If he's a trader, then from who are his second tier supplier? Just to understand that in case how much risk he is having, because he is also sourcing from another supplier, and assuming that that supplier goes bust, which is happening in this COVID situation, his reliability becomes a question mark. Or he has only one manufacturing location from where he is making the supply, and for certain reason, if there is a closure on that manufacturing location, his supply get into problems. So that's why it's very important to know to ensure supplier's reliability. We know our supplier well, from whom he is taking his supply, and whether his manufacturing activities is concentrated only in one location, he does not have any alternate, etc. So I think that has become a very important second lever, supplier reliability in the COVID situation. Third lever is getting the most reasonable price. So as we had seen traditionally, that lowest price was always the winner. That no longer is always the case. As people wants to value the supply reliability high, so they are even ready to look at reasonable price, not necessarily the lowest price, because to ensure supply reliability, even if it is 1% or 3% point more, probably you'll be still ready to pay that to ensure your reliable supply. Fourth thing, which I will tell also is an important lever, is how innovative buying models you can bring into the supplier perspective from these tail end suppliers. Like I'll just give an example. I think most of you know, like most of the manufacturing companies buy bearings. Now many years back, SKF had started a program like a bearing bank, where you need not, where the bearing bank is located in your factory, but you are not necessarily paying for the bearings for whatever is located in the bearing bank. You are only paying what you are consuming. So I think that's very important, that pay as you go. that model is becoming very important, and these are called as, I call it as innovative buying model. Like not for tail end buys, people started questioning these days lot of capex purchases. Like I buy a compressed, why I buy a compressor? Because I need compressed air. Now, if I can get compressed air, do I really need to buy compressor? So that changes your whole concept from a capex model to an opex model. So that's not exactly applicable for this for this low value buys, but those kind of innovative concepts like consumables bank, those are coming, and companies are increasingly looking at those innovative levers also quite seriously. I think these are the four levers which I wanted to mention. One is traditional lever, which is reduction of procurement admin cost. Second is very important lever after COVID situation, supply reliability. Third is getting the most reasonable price, not necessarily the lowest price. And fourth is innovative buying models. That's in essence are the important levers for today.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you for responding and for trying to clarify a lot of points which dwell in our minds. Possibly we see through it, we think about it, but we often fail to recognize it so very importantly whenever the situations arise. Nevertheless, thank you. All of these points were very pertinent, and now when we have spoken something about how important it is to manage the tail end spend. What are the generic levers or the specific levers which help us to improve or shore up the efficiency and effectiveness of buying? We really sometimes talk about efficiency and effectiveness. This is one. But when we talk about efficiency and effectiveness, we also see a major role of IT. So, Mr. Rajesh Ray, I would like to extend this discussion with you today. Well, when we talk about efficiency and effectiveness, especially in low value procurement or tail end spend management, IT plays a major role in delivering the best outcome in procurement. So, when we talk about IT and the role of IT in delivering transactional outcomes. I think would you please share your insights, some sort of out of your experience on the role and impact of technologies and processes. I'm singling out these two, technologies and processes. What are the roles? What is the impact of these two parameters, that is technology and processes, in ensuring zero error and efficiency across transactional buys? So if you would please, let us have your views, Mr. Ray.
Thanks. I think I will talk about 5 roles, 5 particular use cases or roles where I think IT can play a big role in terms of tail end buying. The first one is analytics. Ideally, if you buy the same item in the past and on a regular basis, nowadays price analytics engine can give you all the insights. What was the lowest price at which you brought? What was the highest price? What is the median price? What was the most frequent price at which you brought the item? What were the seasonal variation of prices of the item, etc. And buyers are taking a lot of buying decisions based on that. So essentially, your past historical buys provide you a lot of data points which is available with you, where price analytics engines helps in terms of telling you the recommended price for that item when you are going to buy it for the future. And I think that's one area where we see analytics playing a big role. Second big area is automation. I think all of us are talking about it. How much of all transaction processes, like say purchase requisition, quotation, tendering, purchase order, invoices, all these processes can be automated, which reduces in one hand transaction cost and then the second part is the chances of error also comes down. So that's also a big technology lever, automation. Third one is everyone where it is becoming very important is paperless, like digitization of all documents wherever possible. Like you use all digital signatures for your approval, you use workflow technologies for getting all your approvals and all the kind of quality clearance. So all buying processes are highly becoming paperless and digitized. And as you had seen that in the last few months during the COVID scenario, digitization had increased a lot and it is going to increase more. And just to also tell you that paperless and digitization are also has a big role to play in sustainability dimension. Because as we all know, that 1 tons of paper needs 3,000 trees to be cut. So that's the quantum of saving you can do if you can really go paperless or make the processes digitized. Fourth important area what I had seen is that people are adopting more and more software applications, be it in the areas of contract management, be it in the areas of spend analytics, be it in the areas of tendering, ERP, etc. So that's where adoption of softwares and technologies are increasingly growing. And I think in M Junction we know that you are one big player already in that place in terms of e-tendering, etc. So that's an adoption which is also growing. And fourth, and the last and most important point which I also want to talk about is emergence of marketplace like IndiaMart. Like you see that lots of engineering items purchase happens through IndiaMart platform. So there are lots of our daily purchases is happening today using Amazon like platform. So tomorrow you can find that a lot of these marketplaces are emerging, and it is it's becoming quite popular in US and in Europe, and it is slowly started coming in India as well, as you can see that. So I think these are the 5 areas where you will see technology will make increasingly a difference. One is number 1 analytics, number 2 automation, number 3 paperless and digitization, number 4 emergence of marketplace, and number 5 using softwares for most of your daily activities in purchasing, be it contract management, be it spend management, be it tendering, or be it doing the ERP transactions. So I think these are the 5 areas where technology is going to play bigger roles in terms of ensuring cost efficiency, zero error, and bringing more innovative practices in place.
Thanks. Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you, Mr. Rajesh. I think that was good. So I would like to go back. I would like to go back to Mr. Bhattacharya. Just give me 1 second. Sorry. So I would just like to go back to Mr. Bhattacharya, Mr. Bhattacharya. So there are a couple of queries, which are possibly going around, in our minds. And while we talk about that, being an essential service provider, which CESC today is in terms of supplying electricity to the city of Calcutta, we would like to know from you how you have managed your procurement function in the critical times of 2020, especially from the perspective of giving a service which really can't fail even for a second. How do you manage that? And while you talk about it, it would be great, if you can also touch upon how do we typically prevent stockouts? Because if you talk about an essential service, definitely and most definitely you would would not like to have a single instance of stock out, even for the low value items. How do you actually prevent stockouts, and how do you engage with suppliers to get maximum participation? So if you can handle these two, if you can throw light on these two issues on stockouts and handling of vendors and suppliers to get maximum participation, and really share with us how you have managed these two in ensuring that you have overcome this pandemic, the crisis of the pandemic in supplying electricity and supplies. We'd like to hear from you, Mr. Pankaj.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chaudhary, once again for the very fantastic question you asked. Actually, it was really a lifetime experience for all of us when we handled the challenges of the pandemic. And in fact, in 2020, we had two critical times for CESC. One was the lockdown, which was there in the third week of March. Another one was Amphan on 20th of May. So that was more challenging for us. And we could handle both these situations in such a way that our customers' satisfaction could be maintained as usual. And now I'll tell you just in brief. I have to touch upon a lot of points in 5 minutes, so I'll just be very brief in just informing you, like how we handle the situations in COVID. Like during the year end, generally our inventory is tapered off, and it also came 5 to 6 days of consumption by the third week of March, when suddenly the lockdown was announced. And it almost resulted in a stockout situation in our stores. It was a very difficult situation we had landed. And while all industries was closed, this entertainment industry, manufacturing industry, education, everything was closed, offices, factories. But CESC could not close because we had to produce power 24/7, more so to support the hospitals, because there was a very strong directive from the government that there should not be a power interruption for even a single moment. So, and challenges were like many of our critical items are sourced from outside the state, like cables, cable joints, street light poles. They come from outside the state, and that supply totally stopped, and it never came. It didn't come in time, and there was a very difficult situation in stores. Logistics was totally shattered, interstate logistics and no truck movements. And how we affected? Like many consignments were in pipeline, and that got stuck somewhere in the highway, no trace. Local ancillary units of Howrah, who supports us on day-to-day basis, they closed down. Their workers fled to the villages, thinking villages are more safe in pandemic. And our employees, they have to attend duties on a daily basis to power stations, substations, door in case of any fault of electricity. So they were a tremendous risk. So what we did, we couldn't, there was no excuse for us to stop our electricity, and not a single moment of power cut happened because of lack of materials. How we did it? We made a quick strategy of to manage the critical issues. Like we explored and developed a local supply chain as a substitute of the outstation supply chain. How we did it? Like there are some local sources we located. We had in our data bank some references of local sources, but not many could match our quality standards. So we assessed them on paper, and we settled the commercials, and it was ready for some production. But who will produce? The factory is closed. There was no worker. So what we did, we started liaison with the state administration. We started writing mails and letters to the district magistrates, and requesting the district magistrate office to allow the ancillary units to open in Howrah and not 24 Parganas, to at least on a skeleton basis to make materials ready for CESC. And we also started liaising with the local police stations, seeking their help to make the local units open, small units open. And with a lot of follow-ups and everything, ultimately the things happened in about 10 days time, 15 days time. We could manage to open the units at a very less number of manpower who were brought from the villages. They started manufacturing the materials for CESC in the local units. And also we did one good thing, like we collaborated internally and externally to develop certain new products as a substitute of the existing outstation products, which was not coming. So we developed certain products within the state and which act as a substitute just to keep the supply chain running. Also, we revamped our logistics and warehousing process. We made it more lean, and we made deliveries of materials right from the local ancillaries or godowns directly to the place of work, instead of coming to stores first and then disbursement. Software technology was used extensively because all our executives were working from home, and we made a contactless procurement. And finally, the most important thing, protecting our people. We have CSC has so many employees, and in power stations, substations, and door to door, they visit for any repairing of faults. So we had to buy sanitizers, PPEs, which became very scarce at that point of time, and very costly also. We had to pay premiums to buy those materials so that our employees are protected. Also, one good thing, like you said, what are the levers which helps us to manage to avoid stockouts? That is VMI, vendor managed inventory. All our vendors who are located within the state maintain inventory on our account, and that helped. As soon as the local units opened, before they started producing goods for us, there was some materials ready for us there in their finished goods stock. That was rushed to our stores, and that helped us to. It never touched zero. No, not a single stock keeping unit became zero at any point of time. And this vendor managed inventory saved the situation. So that was the main thing what was done. And also another good thing, like it was the tie up with the vendors, the long relationship. Vendors are working with us for 40 years, and it is an emotional relationship. They feel part of CSC only. They don't feel outside. So they feel part of CSC only. That only helped. So this is how we managed, and then Amphan came. Amphan also handled in a bit different way, but that's big story altogether. So that's, I think, I thought I could be able to answer your question.
Yes, sure, Mr. Bhattacharya. Thank you. Thank you for answering this question and giving us some clarity. So we move to Mr. Alok Gupta. Mr. Gupta, while Mr. Rajesh Ray has spoken about the trend, the global trend of outsourcing the low value buys by any organization to experienced service providers, so that IT platform can be used, efficiencies can be delivered. So you've been handling procurement since a long time in your organization, and when we talk about low value procurement, if you could share with us your take, on forcing, how do you foresee large organizations trying to outsource their transactional buys, to process-driven service providers? And in that sense, do you think that it would help the organization which is outsourcing the low-value buys to really put more focus on the buys which are more strategic in nature? So how do you see this trend? That I'm a large organization, I'm a large enterprise, and I would like to focus only on my core buys, my strategic buys, high value buys, and those low value buys, which consume a lot of capital, I would like to outsource them to a third party who can drive processes. So what do you see? What do you foresee?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Indranil. Really very pertinent question in the current time. In fact, let me start saying, in fact, in the fast changing time, every organization is looking for reducing cost and simultaneously enhancing efficiency to propel its profitability. Even large organizations are following the triple bottom line. I think we all know triple bottom line. This concept incorporates 3 dimensions of performance: social, environmental, and financial, including both its profitability and shareholder values, and its social, human, and environmental capital. So really, when any organization is looking for reducing cost and enhancing efficiency and in procurement activities for low procurement is the most important area to be looked into. And I can definitely say that in this area, and once it is utilizing most of the time, maybe you can say about 80% of the time in the procurement what we do at Indian Oil, about 80% of the time goes in these tail end buys. In fact, if we can look for some outsourcing of these, and probably outsourcing with the experts in this area, I'm sure that definitely it will be adding value and will be able to reduce our cost, administrative cost, as well as will be able to enhance efficiency and even reduce plant interruptions and all. I think many of you will be aware of that Indian Institute of Materials Management, who are imparting quality education in the field of materials and supply chain management. They are offering various courses in materials and supply chain. And even you would have heard of a company named M Junction. They are providing a lot of IT enabled services for procurement of the items. And I have personally endorsed that any materials management executive, I think Mr. Bhattacharya, Mr. Rajesh Ray, they can vouch for me that any materials management guy in a large company can definitely add to its profitability. If not to a good extent, definitely at least 10 to 15% improvement in the profitability it can always make. Looking to various thoughts and buys what they can employ and do. And as I referred that most critical and expenditure related item is the administrative expenses, handling so many large manpower in big large corporates. If we are able to control and shift these responsibilities to some experts in the field like M Junction, hello, like M Junction, who are able to utilize their item services and their expertise and the supplier base, who have long-term arrangements with the suppliers and procuring the items at very efficient cost. Probably it will give a good value to any large scale company, large organizations to look for this. In fact, we are looking forward to relations with M Junction and IMM as to how we can efficient our operations and overall profitability of the company. Even this digital services.
Okay, I think that was good. You know, we got some. I think we got some insights, you know, from Mr. Alok Gupta. I think he's given us his share of thoughts. Yeah, Mr. Gupta.
Hello.
Yeah,
Am I audible?
Yes, please. We lost you in the middle.
Okay, I'll conclude of saying, not taking much time, I'll just conclude of saying that once these tail end buys procurement activities are transferred to some experts in the field who are highly IT digital enabled, these are definitely going to give value to large corporates like Indian Oil or many other companies like that. And ultimately we'll be able to give a good value to our suppliers also. Like in the first question when I answered for the values what purchaser or supplier will like to look into, probably such third party enablers will add value to both. And I think Mr. Bhattacharya and Mr. Ray both will agree to my views, and we can definitely take it forward. Thank you, Mr. Indrajit.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Gupta. I think we have covered more or less a major part of the discussion timeline. You know, the time frame that we had in mind. So we don't have much time left. You know, but still, we'll take one or two questions from the audience, and I'll just pick a couple of questions, and with a request to all the panelists that we don't take more than 1.5 to 2 minutes to answer this question, because these are two questions that we have chosen. I think one is a very straight question: how do we manage spike in consumption? That's one question. Can we answer it in a couple of minutes, maybe max? I think we've anyone.
Can I respond, Mr. Indranil? Okay.
Or Mr. Gupta, no problem.
Yeah, Mr. Indranil, I like to respond in this. Like wherever we know that there are some variations, some spikes are possible in the consumption, I always look for a rate contract sort of thing with the suppliers. There are two mutual benefits. He knows my requirement in advance. He will keep some inventory always ready with him. And I'm also sure of getting that at the fixed price. Fixed defined price, which I have done in the very beginning once I have gone for the tendering. So with this, I'll be able to easily handle such spikes. And this rate contract can be a very, very easy. I can tell for one of the items, RO membrane, which you use for water quality improvement, we have utilized this, and I can proudly say that we have managed taking about 80% of the supplies within 2 months against the contract time of 1 year. My other speakers can present if they want.
Yeah. Oh no, I think that's fair enough. I think we'll take one last question, and that question is also very simple. It's come from the audience, which is, if you look at spend analytics or spend analysis, per se. So we consider this to be a very big, a very important part of procurement, spend analysis and spend management, obviously. So when we assume that the role of IT is very big, so really big it is. How big does IT play? The role IT plays in spend analysis. Mr. Rajesh Ray, just in 1 to 1.5 minutes, can help us with an answer. So I think Mr. Ray is we can't hear, or maybe there's some problem. So Mr. Bhattacharya, would you like to just speak, because we have a long time, in a minute or two, can you summarize it?
In fact, I'd like to add one thing here. Like, if you want to integrate IT with spend analysis, actually, for any business operations, for any activity, it is nothing but the data. And if you want to analyze your spend, if you want to classify your spend, if you want to segregate to vital, essential, or A or B class, whatever you call, various classifications are there in the inventory management. It is nothing but handling of the data. And so unless you have a very strong IT backbone in your organization, you can't manage the situations. So you have to be selective in your decisions. Like selectively, I go for strategic buying. I have to select the A category items or the V category items. Who will do that? It is nothing but the IT. And IT means the handling of the data. So IT plays absolutely, in today's world, in Industry 4.0, when you are going to implement very shortly in all industries across the globe. So IT is the only thing we can think of in supply chain management that can take us forward for cost reduction, for optimization of inventory, for various things you talk about. So that's I wanted to add. That is nothing but the handling of data, and that is done by the IT. So that is the only answer to this question. Mr. Chaudhary, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? I think I'm audible.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Mr. Bhattacharya. Thank you very much. I think what you said was very pertinent, and it really addresses to a large extent the query that we had asked. although we know that the time is short and the time may not, we may not be doing justice to all the questions. There were many others. But right now, I would like to quickly, summarize, what we have discussed over the last 55 minutes. So while we've seen that we started off the discussion when we heard about the impact of risk, in procurement. We discussed the quality problems. Mr. Bhattacharya mentioned that we should put a lot of stress on planning and planning of low value spend, how we can prepare ourselves for what is known and what is unknown. So I think those are the things which, especially when you were talking about the uncertain pandemic times, these issues surfaced. Well, the other point that we really thought that it's very pertinent is the tail-end vendors, especially during this pandemic, when a lot of supply chain establishments got they were stopped or they were disrupted. It's very good, if we say that as a large enterprise, we find that, or we say that the small vendors, they are not at fault, because they don't have the wherewithal to deal with uncertainties the way the bigger organizations can deal with. So that empathy also came out. And Mr. Bhattacharya also mentioned about strategy, that we should always have a strategy, even if we want to buy the low value buys or the tail-end spend. So while this is one, we also learned about how CSC coped up with this pandemic in organizing substitution in the supply chain. So that's something which came as an exemplifying fact in front of us. We also learned about contactless procurement, how important it is to build up relationship with the vendors, and many other things which possibly, due to paucity of time, I really can't read or state at this point of time. But I think all of these points, Mr. Bhattacharya, really resonates with the thought processes that all of us have here. Of course, we also had a very engaging set of insights from Mr. Rajesh Ray. So one of the things that we started off listening is that, yes, outsourcing of low value buys, management of low value buys, is one of the key levers to increase efficiency in low value procurement. So that's something which came as a fact which many of us would know. Then we also learned about supply credibility. Mr. Ray spoke about not necessarily low price. So which means when we buy low value items, it's not necessarily the price at which we buy is very important, although it's important. What is more important to stress is reliability, availability of the vendors, availability of the supplies. So delivery compliance becomes very important in terms of low value spend management. And obviously, there was something which is quite new in terms of a word, which is bearing bank, which we learned. Of course, we know about VMI, and I would assume that it's very near similar. It's near similar to what an on-site VMI would be. But yes, you spoke about innovative buying in terms of exemplifying bearing bank. As far as IT interventions are concerned, we learned about analytics, how important analytics and automation, especially automation from RFQ, from PR to PO. This automation, the importance of it, the importance of workflows and approvals, and also you mentioned about emergence of key marketplace. Yes. So when we talk about the role of IT in procurement, I think all of these have immense value. And marketplace is something which all of us are talking about, all of us are experiencing, and all of us are putting our trust into. So Mr. Alok Gupta also gave us a lot of insights in terms of you also echoed what Mr. Rajesh Ray said, that outsourcing of low value procurement, which are transactional buys to third party service providers, looks to be an option which can be exercised to improve efficiency and effectiveness of low value procurement. And you also stressed upon the importance of giving feedback to the suppliers and suppliers giving feedback to the purchasers, and the response time from the suppliers to the purchasers and vice versa. So that's very important when we talk about relationship building, how we ensure compliances in terms of suppliers meeting the deadlines, So you also spoke about getting ourselves ready for how to deal with defaulters, how to deal with supply defaults. So those are the areas which are somewhere, which could be there in the mind of the procurement specialists. And you also mentioned that while delivery compliance is important, ARC is a very important tool. ARC is a very important tool to streamline low value buying. So I think that's a wonderful statement to make, because in all enterprises, whenever we talk about streamlining the tail end spend, or when we even talk about streamlining the buys to reduce, we always reduce the count of PRs and POs. So which it's always to handle exceptions, to handle spikes. It's always good to have ARCs in place, and ARC coverage is important, definitely. And something which is very interesting, which you spoke about, is the people bottom line. The way you look at it in terms of social, environmental, and financial parameters. I think that's something which was also quite nice to hear. So I think overall a very engaging session, and no doubt there is all of us have enjoyed every minute or every moment of this session. So while we have come to the end of our webinar today, let me tell you that it has really been a very engaging session for all of us. And we would be happy if we are able to apply our learnings to our individual spaces of application. And I take this opportunity to sincerely thank each one of you who has participated in this discussion today. Finally, and specifically, I would like to thank our three speakers, Mr. Rajesh Ray, Mr. Partha Bhattacharya, and Mr. Alok Gupta, for being with us today, and importantly, for contributing to the webinar with your valuable insights. Okay. So thank you very much once again, and hence we are bringing this webinar to a close. Stay safe and goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nadeep. Thank you, Mr. Bhattacharya, Mr. Rai. Thank you, everyone. We enjoyed being together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Yeah, thank you.